Rabbi Manis Friedman, I don't know, every week I want to say more and more, thank God it's Tuesday. Thank God it's Tuesday and we have this opportunity to speak with you and to maybe hear that there is goodness in the world, that there is hope and that the redemption is near, because unfortunately things are getting harder to stomach by the minute. I don't know if there is an explanation to everything that is happening right now. And of course, this is why we need you like air with this insight and knowledge that you have to shed light. And I mean shed light to everything that is going on in the world and how we should be viewing it. And I think the hardest thing that is happening to us right now is the fact that there is so much information, misinformation, and contradicting information, and there's so much chaos going on. And of course, everybody, to keep some sort of sanity, would like to make sense of it, would like to believe someone, something. I mean, and everybody has an opposing point of views. And of course, it's affecting our minds, and it's affecting our hearts and our souls, and it's affecting the world. So my biggest question today is, how do we deal with it? How do we protect ourselves from the info wars that are going on right now, which I think are more harmful? Well, I'm not going to judge. They're as harmful, less harmful, doesn't matter. Very harmful to our society today.
I missed you last week.
I missed our program as well, but for good reason.
That was an intense week.
Yeah, and then some.
Yeah. So we were talking, all along about expecting the unexpected, but this was definitely unexpected. Out of nowhere. Yeah. And all the people who say they predicted it, they saw it coming, nobody saw it coming. Completely out of nowhere. So yes, we can still expect surprises, but we would like a little more pleasant surprise, a little more pleasant surprises than. But the first thing we need to do, before we try to understand, make sense of what's happening, we first have to know exactly what is happening. What is happening before we get to the why. So to take an objective, dispassionate look, what is happening? Is the world getting better, or is the world getting worse? Oh, the world's getting worse. No. Somebody got worse, but not the world. The world's behavior is very impressive this time around. Comparing it to World War II, there's no comparison. During World War II, it seems like, just looking back at it, everyone was interested and excited to get involved, to fight the war on this side of the fence, on that side of the fence. There was the winners and the losers. It was exciting. It was like a video game. This time around, the world is not excited. It's bad, nobody wants it, nobody agrees with it, nobody likes it. Even people who are not terribly in love with Ukraine. But they have no tolerance for this. In World War II, refugees had no place to go. Certainly Jewish refugees. No one would let us in, including the United States. Now, every country is eager to receive the refugees and to help them, and it's a completely different world. Even Russia is not the same. The people are not supporting this. The Russian people. The Russian soldiers are not supporting this. It's a different world. So the fact that it's, very painful and very tragic, and the pictures, the videos of the bombings and the horrible, horrible. But that has become the exception. The world is not like that anymore. And of course, the very fact that Ukraine has a Jewish president who is not hiding his Jewishness. He's not a closet Jew. The United States hasn't had a Jewish president, but Ukraine has a Jewish president. Tell me that this is not full of surprises. Everything that we're seeing was completely unpredictable 20 years ago. So what is happening? The world is changing in front of our eyes. And just to be sure that the change is real, Russia goes to war with Ukraine. And the world proved itself. When the chips are down, when things are serious, the world has changed. It's not like, yeah, somebody just start the fire and everybody's going to join. Nobody's joining. So we've been tested, the world has been tested, and the world has proved itself to be different, better than 70 years ago. That's what is actually happening. Now, why is this happening? And what are we supposed to make of it? If you want to get biblical about it, and somebody in the government in Ukraine said 2 weeks ago, we're living in biblical times. So, got to believe him. He's a big politician, so he must be telling the truth. So we're living in biblical times. That is actually correct and true. We're living in times when God's intervention in affairs has become much more obvious. It's so much easier to believe in God today than it was 10 years ago. Easier. It comes more naturally to the tongue. To say it's biblical times, to say God should help and please God and thank God, becomes so much easier, so much more natural. So yes, we're living in biblical times, but it's always been biblical times. It's just that we didn't notice or we weren't paying attention. This time everybody notices, everybody's paying attention. And what is exactly happening that is biblical? The coming of Mashiach. We knew that the world would one day become normal, that it was inevitable, it had to happen. How it would happen, we didn't know. When it happened, we didn't know. Now we see. It's happening now, and this is how it's happening. The goodness is winning over the darkness. And how do we know that? The only way to know for sure is when there is a serious darkness and the goodness wins over it. If all of a sudden everybody was just nice, I would be a little suspicious. Like, what's happening here? Can't be true, it can't be real. But when it's tested and something seriously evil happens, and the world will not touch it, you're not going to drag us into this. We want no part of it. It's not acceptable, it's not tolerable, it's not right. Now we know that the goodness is real. So I was speaking to one of the Chabad rabbis in, where was he? Maybe Dnieper. His family left because it's dangerous. He's staying. But he says My day and night are busy beyond belief. While we were talking, he got phone calls about where the army is coming, the Russian army, what's going on, and who needs help. For all of these days, what was it, 12 days, day and night, he is busy helping people, feeding people, saving people, advising people, getting people out, bringing people in. Not a spare moment. So he was, in a sense, complaining about it, that he has no time to think, he has no time to talk. But we were talking about making sense of what's going on. There are two things that have to happen before Mashiach comes. We've always known this, but we didn't realize to what degree. Two things. Mashiach comes when we do tshuva, when we turn back to God, and when we give charity, tzedakah. In the last 12 days, this Chabad rabbi who believes in tzedakah, who came to Russia to do tzedakah, to help and to feed and to nurture, in these 12 days, he has done more charity work than in the last 10 years. And it's not just him. The whole world is engaged now in acts of tzedakah. When a refugee comes and you find him a place to sleep, or you give him something to eat, that is the greatest tzedakah. So if tzedakah brings Mashiach, wow, we are piling it on. Tshuva brings Mashiach. People have never been so comfortable with God as they are today. People who thought of themselves as atheists, all of a sudden that doesn't make any sense to them, and they just switch. God should help. Something is going to happen. It must be for the good. Amazing, amazing. So if we needed a little more tshuva and a little more tzedakah to bring Mashiach, we've got it. We have got it. So that's why it's happening, because the world is getting ready for Mashiach. What's happening? The world is becoming shockingly better. Unpredictably, surprisingly better. And not in gradual steps. It was pretty radical, like a giant step for mankind. So we are now living in a much, much better world. We're thinking about, remember the 6-day war in Israel. In 6 days, Israel ended a war against 3 other armies. Yeah, we knew that was a miracle. It never happened before in history. But now, seeing what's going on with Russia, it makes the 6-day war look so much greater than we ever thought. This was Israel, one country, tiny country, fighting 3 much larger armies and countries. And it was over in 6 days. Here, the mighty government of Russia fighting a tiny government of Ukraine, and it's already 15 days. That 6-day victory is looking bigger and greater than ever. So, how is this going to end, which is what everybody wants to know? We are in the days of surprises. If we could predict how it's going to end, then it wouldn't be part of history today. Because today nothing is predictable except the outcome. Don't know how it's going to end. But whatever the ending is, it's going to be much better than it is today. When? If not today, then tomorrow. This is not months, not years, God forbid. It's a matter of days. Today would be a very good day for it to end, so that we can prepare for Purim with a happy heart.
Yes.
And if not today, then tomorrow, which would make Purim even more significant.
Rabbi Friedman, amazing. I mean, it's great to be where you are. It's great to see the goodness and the kindness and everything, and the light, and it's amazing. However, it's very hard for our community at this moment. And of course, I would like your advice on a few things that are happening immediately. You know, we're all hopeful. We're all obviously praying for the immediate redemption, everybody, Jews, non-Jews alike. But at the same time, unfortunately, there's a lot of hate, confusion, and we can see it more than ever in the internet. We see people of Ukraine's reaction towards people of Russia, even though those people, as you said, are definitely not for the war. I mean, everybody is getting hit on the internet. This is the weapon of today. And unfortunately, since we're all here, where our radio is half from Russia, half from Ukraine, everybody's Russian speaking, so we can all understand each other. But there is an animosity towards the language. There's animosity towards the word Russian. There's any culture. Everybody is reacting very painfully to these things. We actually have few stores taking down signs that have the word Russian in them on Brighton Beach, like for instance, the grocery store Taste of Russia is changing the name, and it seems like a lot of other businesses are either in the process or considering it. And what would you say to something like this, where you know, are people taking it too far, or should people oblige and you know, do less Russian, not to get people stirred up? What would be your advice on this topic?
If they feel a little threatened, and taking down the name will make them a little more secure or comfortable, fine. But know one thing: in a few days, the world will be very proud, and Russians will have what to be proud of. If this turns around for the good, which it must, then the good will come from Russia. It's very interesting that in Hebrew, you know what the word Russia means?
Yes, bad.
Evil.
Evil.
But the prediction is that before the coming of Mashiach, the Russia will do tshuva, which means goodness will come from what was previously Russia. We say it in the davening, we say it in the prayers, every day, 3 times a day. What are we hoping for? What are we looking forward to? We're looking forward to the time when the Russias will do tshuva.
Well, we're definitely all looking forward to that.
I think Russians should be confident that, first of all, Russia is such a major player in the world. That's not by accident. Russia has the attention of the whole world right now. One good move, one positive move, and Russia becomes the hero. There's another thing that is so different in the world today. I'm assuming that this program is not being heard in Russia today.
Probably not, since it could be only heard through social media, and the social media has been shut off in Russia, like Instagram and Facebook, and YouTube. So most likely, no. Most likely, we lost that audience.
Yeah. So if we could talk to Putin, the message would be, you're destined to be a man who goes down in history as a great leader. You want it, you need it, and it's going to happen. But if you think that by winning against Ukraine or any other parts of Europe, that's going to make you a hero, you're living in the past. It's no longer true. The world has changed. Conquering nation after nation will not make you a hero. The world will not respect it. I know that the belief or the assumption is, they're complaining now, but once I'm victorious, everybody will agree with me. No, that used to be. They asked Hitler, how do you expect to get away with this? He says, if I'm successful, nobody will ask any questions. That was then. And that is the thinking of an Amalek. But today is not the same. The world has changed. The only way to become a hero today is by doing goodness. That's the only thing people will admire or respect. If he turns around and he says, sorry, this is wrong. This is wrong. Let's stop this. Let's rebuild. Let's respect each other. Let's do what God would find pleasing. You will go down in history as one of the great leaders, certainly of modern times, maybe of all times. The world has changed. Change with it. Be a hero by all means. Create a legacy. Go down in history as great. We're all rooting for it. But greatness today is not accomplished by armies and by bombs and by killing. It's a different world. So I'm sure that is going to happen, because Russia is not Amalek. Russia are the descendants of Esav. Esav is a grandchild, a grandson of Avraham, Yitzchak, and the brother of Yaakov. He's got to become good eventually. So Esav will do tshuva. Now it can come from Putin, it can come from somebody else. But right now, Putin has the opportunity to do it. And the message of Purim, one of the strong messages of Purim, not Putin, is Mordechai said to Esther, go talk to the king. It's dangerous, but why do you think you became the queen? This is why it's happening. This is why you're in the position you're in. So don't blow it now. The fact that Putin has the attention of the whole world, it's not by accident. It's so that you can be the hero of the world's becoming perfect. Don't blow it now. Take advantage of the opportunity and go down in history as the perfected form of Esav. See, Yitzchak saw the potential in Esav and really favored him over Yaakov, because tshuva is so powerful. The question is only, when would Esav do tshuva? Yitzchak thought it would happen right away. But Rivka, the mother, knows her children better. And she said, Esav? It'll be about 3,500 years before he does tshuva. So in the meantime, let's go with Yaakov. But when Esav does do tshuva, magnificent. That's what we have to pray for. Not that more people should die. Not that he should die. Not that dying doesn't fix anything. But among the surprises in this year or 2 years of surprises, the ultimate surprise would be that the worst of the worst becomes the best of the best.
Amen, Rabbi Friedman. That we're all looking forward to that happening, and hopefully as soon as possible, like right now, would be great. However, while we're still in this mess that we're in, few things, every morning we pray for clarity. The first thing we ask for is to be able to differentiate between dark and light, and of course that goes deeper to really see the truth versus the lies. And this is what we all hope for and strive for. And this is sort of one of the reasons why I picked the topic today to be the InfoWars, because the information is coming from so many sides, and it's contradictory. I mean, maybe everybody can agree on the fact that, the war is horrible and nobody wants the war. I think that's pretty much in 100% agreement amongst people. But however, the reasoning behind it, and some people are trying to justify what is happening over there with the biolabs, and then somebody else is saying, painting a different picture. So this is the situation we're in. I mean, can any war be justified? And that's actually question number one. And also, another aspect of this is should the wars be moral? Is there morality in the war at all? I mean, it's all about killing. So can there be any morality? I mean, how should we react to the fact that Senator Lindsey Graham flat out calls for assassination of Putin? Is that an okay thing to do? Is that a good thing to do? Is it immoral, moral? I mean, how is that? And the Facebook, I mean, simply calling out for hate towards Russian people, which is working out perfectly because, they're kind of getting their wish. There is resentment towards all Russian people in general. Like I said before, just for being Russian, doesn't matter what they stand for and what their point of view is. So those are the two questions that if you can please answer, because this is kind of, I know I rather not think about this kind of reality, but this is today. I mean, tomorrow I hope redemption comes in 5 minutes, but until it does, we kind of have to make sense of all this kind of not pleasant stuff.
I don't know if there's an information war. People are frustrated. People are ranting and raving. They don't know what they're saying. They don't know. They're not even insisting that they're right. They just want you to know how frustrated they are. They're venting, not offering an opinion. So the more hysterical and the more extreme, the less opinion it is just a cry. The cry of the frustration, the disappointment, the horror, and the fear. A lot of fear. What is this going to lead to? Am I going to get killed? So it's not even a question of the morality of war. It's the fear of it that you're hearing on the internet. People who are thinking don't have this chaotic reaction. People who are thinking want to see both sides, the good and the bad, not both sides of the combatants. But we have to be really, really strict with this rule. Goodness is true. Evil is not. Goodness is permanent. Evil is not. So how do we balance this? Okay, there's some good news. The world doesn't want to hear about war. True. The world will not make a war hero a hero anymore unless it's something moral and good. Okay. But then look at the footage. People dying, people being wounded, killed, families torn apart. Come on. It's ugly, it's horrible, it's... Okay, so you have both. Which is more real? In the past, the goodness was dismissed. Oh yeah, sure, people are good here, people are good there, but the world is horrible. There were Jews during the Holocaust who were rescued by non-Jews, hidden non-Jews risking their lives. You see, the world is good. No, the world is not good. They are the exception, and who knows why they're doing it. We were not convinced about the goodness. We're very convinced about the evil. That's not a good attitude. Who says that's right? Who says that we should be more impressed with how evil is than with how good goodness is? That is changing too. It's always been, oh, evil is real. Goodness is cute. But it's not the truth of the world. The truth of the world is evil, lying, cheating, stealing. That's real. Goodness is, you think you're going to go to heaven? It's all very vague and unsure. But today, it's the opposite. Goodness is really good. Evil, that's crazy. It's crazy. That we should not change. That's part of the progress that we feel this way for the first time maybe in history. So fear-mongering, creating panic among people, that is a horrible, sinful thing to do. Being realistic about the problem, trying to help the people who are in trouble, of course. That goodness will actually remove the evil, because goodness is stronger than evil. So it's not an information war. It's people who are hysterical versus people who are thinking. So all that craziness online, without the internet, you wouldn't even hear about it. You can't believe what people say online. You can't even believe that they mean what they're saying. So don't pay any attention to that. That's not news, it's not opinion, it's not a policy, it's just a loss of balance. When things happen that we don't understand, we lose our balance. We see things only one way, very narrow, and that becomes scary. Because if there's only one possibility, well, then that's not good news. So, more than ever, we have to remain rational. You lose your head in a time like this, not good.
Unfortunately, it is happening, and it's happening to, especially amongst our community. This is the only conversation that people are having when they get together, is about the war and disagreements about why it's happening, who is doing it, where it's worse, where it's better. It doesn't matter. The conversations are all insane. They don't make sense. But hopefully there's just a little bit more of that until we can all come together in goodness, as you're saying. And, your words are just amazing and enlightening and very inspirational. And on behalf of everybody who is listening or who will listen to this program later on in social media, thank you very much, Rabbi Friedman. I do want to ask one more question. We have few minutes about diplomacy. Why is it happening that we can't come to terms with words anymore? Why isn't diplomacy working in our times?
Well, we can go negative and say people are not reasonable, people don't want to make peace, or we can go positive. The reason diplomacy isn't working is because diplomacy is not good enough. Diplomacy wants to achieve a ceasefire and an end to the war, maybe even a peace treaty. That's not good enough. That's an old habit that we have. Put a Band-Aid on a problem and we're content. No, this time something much more impressive has to happen. Not a negotiated peace, a change in the attitude, a change in thinking, so that no one should be able to say, I convinced him to make peace. I forced him to make peace. It's got to come from him as a true and deep conviction. Then it's not a ceasefire. Then it's a better world. They already announced ceasefire 3 times. So what good is it? No, we need something much more powerful, much more. It's got to come from the place of wickedness, from the place of bad, has to come the good. You can't import it from outside the country. It's got to be native, organic.
The word of today's society, organic. Rabbi Friedman, amazing. I mean, it's just, thank you so much, because realistically, it started to become harder and harder to deal with everything that we need to deal. I mean, the patience, we're running out of that, and seeing people suffer is horrific, and it's affecting everybody on every level, whether they're directly or indirectly affected. So we're all affected, and it's becoming harder and harder. So thank you for this enlightenment.
But we can also have an effect. We're not just victims. If we're affected, then we can also have an effect. And what we can do is stronger. So if you think positive, expect positive, look forward to really, really good news, because it's inevitable. Goodness must win and will win. You're part of the solution. Those positive vibes, those positive thoughts, that positive energy will bring positive results. So we're not helpless. We can have an effect. If we couldn't affect it, we wouldn't be affected by it. It's a two-way highway. What touches us means that we have something in common, that we're somehow connected. Well, then if it can come to us, then we can send something back. We hear the bad news, we send back good news. We're not passive, we're not paralyzed, we're not victims. Fight back.
Hopefully, everybody is hearing your message now, and hopefully this program somehow will get to President Putin and will make some sort of a dent in his thinking and in his position.
I would not be jealous, or I would not be upset if he comes out to be the hero.
Yeah,
That's fine. Fine.
100%. It's not about who, it's about it happening.
The sooner the better,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely, 100%. Rabbi Friedman, we have about a little less than 2 minutes, so I would love to have you say a couple of words, right, to leave us with, especially that tomorrow night starts a really, really great holiday for the Jewish people and probably for the whole world. So if we can have your closing statements of the show now.
Well, if you want to hear the story that happened in the past in our history, where the worst of the worst turned out to be the best of the best, the month that was going to be the biggest disaster turned out to be the best month, then make sure that you find a Chabad house or a synagogue tomorrow night to hear the Megillah, the story of Esther. It happened then, it's happening now. This month is going to turn into the happiest and the most blessed and the most positive. Just like it did then, it will happen for us again. So make sure you hear the Megillah read, which is a mitzvah of the day. To the day after, what is that? Thursday, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Make sure to give charity to at least 2 poor people and share a food gift with at least 1 friend. Man to man, woman to woman, child to child. That will make the world healthier, happier, more godly, and that can undo the darkest of evils. So have a happy Purim, have a traditional Purim, have a mitzvah Purim, and let's change the world again.
Amen. Thank you so much, Rabbi Friedman. Thank you again for being with us, for spreading the light, for for lifting us up, basically, us and the entire world in this so far dark times, but hopefully very soon, very light times. Happy Purim to you, your family, and thank you. Thank you very much.